Bonus features.
There's our preview. Excellent.
Welcome to Dead Headspace. I'm your host, Patrick R. McDonough, joined always by my co-host, Brennan Lefaro. Say hello, Brennan.
Hello, everybody.
And today we are damn excited to talk to the man that created Ghost Eaters. Hello. I should have introduced your name. Oh my God, he's distracting me with a eating
Who the hell wrote that book?
His name is Clay McLeod Chapman. Say hello, Clay.
Hey, guys, we made it. We're alive.
We're really excited. Man, we are so excited to talk to you because this is just a phenomenal book. And we'll get into that real soon. Brennan, anything to say about that book? If it's just a snippet, or there might be someone else that has a few words to say about Ghost Eaters. That's the curator of horror. His name is Chance Forshee.
Oh my God! This is like one of the. You just pulled some Geraldo shit. Like this is like just sprung Chance on me. It's like
he is the father.
You're the father. You're the baby's daddy.
Well, it only made sense because I did talk to Chance privately about him coming on if we ever have you, and then we had a chance to have you on. Chance Forshee, say hello, sir.
Hello. How is everybody doing tonight?
Pretty good. That was good timing. So Chance, just a quick introduction. We'll talk about his podcast soon, but you'll find out very quickly his voice is much better than anyone's ever for this type of thing. And I first heard about Clay on your episode number 2, which, by the way, the podcast is Terrifying Tomes of Terror. So instead of asking Clay what got you into horror, we can get to that. I'd like to ask Chance, how did you discover Clay?
Okay, yeah, good question. So the very first time I heard of Clay was when the hardcover of Whisper Down the Lane came into the store, because I'm the guy who runs the hardcover shop. So I'm the one who deals with all that front list and stuff like that. So that came in, and that cover immediately I was like, whoa, what is this?
There it is. Brent's holding it up.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, right there. I've got my stack of Clay McLeod Chapman books behind me. So yeah, I found it on Audible and listened to it and was like, whoa, like this is a crazy thriller, super into it. So after I listened to it and loved it, I saw on NetGalley that Ghost Eaters was available. And so I requested it and got it and read it, and it blew me the fuck away. And so then I backtracked and I went to the remaking. And now I've gone through the whole catalog. But
I just finished the remaking actually earlier today, and yeah, I want to talk about that later.
You were doing the audio, right, Pat?
Yeah.
Can we take a brief moment and talk about Clay's amazing intro to that book?
It made me, just as a fellow writer, say one day I want him to narrate one of my books. That's how fucking good it was.
I swear there was a whole bit that we did where I did not realize that it was Clay doing it. And I was like going on and on about it in his DMs, like this narrator is amazing, not knowing it was Clay.
And the third person, I think it was the third, maybe 4, that did the podcast within the book, his voice was absolutely perfect for that.
Ooh,
I forget his name.
I can see Clay trying to remember.
I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to pull it out either. I can't do it. It was 4 of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you, then young Amber, and older Amber, and then the podcast guy. That's it.
This is terrible. The only anecdote that I have for the audiobook of the remaking is well, there's a longer story, but I'll do the short story. When the invitation was kind of presented for me to do that part, they kind of gave me this either or option where they're like, either you can do it, or we have this other audiobook narrator who's available and would do it. And it's this actor performer by the name of T. Ryder Smith. This is probably, God, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this. This is probably breaking some protocol. So if I get fired, it'll be one. But like T. Ryder Smith was going to do it if I didn't do it, or he was going to get offered the option to do it. But T. Ryder Smith is Trickster from the seminal 90s horror film Brain Scan, starring Edward Furlong. And he's actually a very like entrenched New York theater artist, but to have Trickster from Brain Scan do the narrative of the remaking was so worth it. I really was on the fence, and I was like, oh my God, I want Trickster to do it, but I really want to do it too. And I said no to Trickster, and I feel like that might have been my fatal flaw in life, because now I can't say I can only say that he could have done it. He should have done it. But he would have done it. But he did.
You could also say you beat him out for the role.
I mean, have you seen Brain Scan? This movie is amazing. This was like when not AI, virtual reality or video game VR, like VRing and game, like the dangers of VR. And Trickster was this like Freddy Krueger-ish character, like he's in your dreams kind of guy. And it's amazing. Like, you have to see it. Like, you have to watch. Like, everyone, to hell with reading these books. Like, let's go watch. Brain Scan.
I used to have a Virtual Boy. That was a Nintendo product. That was a 1995 VR. It's a headset, so you just have to hold your head like that. It has a little stand. So that's what that brought me back to. That's super weird times.
Yeah. It's like taping your phone to your face or something like that.
There's a movie from the early 90s like that, where people were addicted to screens and they couldn't see. They weren't receptive to like the light at one point, and it's very reflective of nowadays. That's
not the Wim Wenders movie, is it? Until the end of
I can't remember the name.
The world, or an end of the universe, or something like that. Gabriel Byrne, maybe. All right, I'm not gonna blow it.
I mean, I like Gabriel Byrne. I get that.
Clay, let's pretend we didn't just have a conversation and start with what got you into horror.
Oh man, trauma. like a messed up childhood.
Oh no, he's gonna be Peter Straub.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
I don't know. I mean, so I mean, there were definitive benchmarks for sure, pop culture road points. Like, I remember as a kid watching Saturday the 14th, which is this, it's an awful, it's awful, but I love it. It's one of these like horror comedies, like a proto self-aware pre-Scream kind of like this was like early 80s when this came out. But it's an amazing movie starring Richard Benjamin. It's like a PG rated film, so it's not terrifying to any.
What year though?
Ooh, like I would say 81, 83, but
okay, so a PG rated film back then though.
No, well, this is like before Gremlins, before Poltergeist, before like
Temple of Doom.
Yeah, it's before Steven Spielberg came in and perverted PG parental guidance, whatever. Though, I mean, I guess Jaws was PG.
Wait, was it?
Yeah, I think so, right?
The PG-13 rating didn't exist until Temple of Doom, if I remember right.
So
cover your heart.
It was Saturday the 14th, and student bodies. these were the only films that you could watch on like Saturday afternoon that were like horror, like it was like what was like early basic cable, like Fox affiliates or like
Yeah.
weird PBS affiliates where it's like they didn't have to cut anything. It was basically just kind of ready-made, like non-scary horror film stuff. But like I just remember watching these movies. Like I had that babysitter who just didn't give a hoot and just let me watch whatever I wanted to watch. And it would be these movies that did honestly traumatize me. But like I don't know. I mean, like it's such a pop psychology answer, but like I never met my dad, had a kind of screwy stepfather for like a real pivotal period of my life, like 6 to 9. And it like I'm not gonna like say like life was what it was, but for a kid, for me at that point, it just like something about the kind of familial dynamic at that point was really like a little messed up. And I had like a hellacious bout of night terrors. Like I would be frozen in bed and believe wholeheartedly that like the shadows in my bedroom were like pools of oil or like black inky puddles, like living puddles, and they were like always like moving in on me into my bed until I would like drown. And and I couldn't get up, like bedwetting, like whatever was happening in my life at that point, it manifested itself at night in these ways that were like I just could not. I would never fall asleep at night, but then I would go to school the next day and just like promptly pass out at the desk, like bonk, and just that it led to this like intersection of like, hey, is Clay okay? Like what's going on with him?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I'm throwing raw data out there without making a point. My mom, I was eventually kind of raised by my mother. She's an artist. She had to work, so I had a lot of time on my hands, and I kind of populated it either by watching, crappy horror movies, or kind of just like starting to make up stories or kind of do these like weird performances by myself, making up like imaginary friends. And I was just that indoor kid who wanted to, I don't know, like start telling stories or making plays or doing things like that. And they were always really screwy. They were really dark. Like from the get-go, like I always wrote like just like weird stuff.
Do you think that I'm going to take one point from this, and Chance, jump in really at any point, man.
Yeah.
But Clay, my mind went to some weird place, and that was when you were talking about dreams as a child.
Yeah.
Don't know how you're going to answer, but do you think that there's a sliver of a chance that children can, for whatever reason, maybe it's purity or whatever, can tap into this dimension, if you will, that adults can't, where maybe nightmares aren't always fake?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I love that question. I do wholeheartedly believe that in a non-supernatural level, like the older we grow, the more we lose sight of our innocence, our imagination, our creativity.
Yeah.
Like I think that like the things that make us fundamentally there is something kind of raw and untapped as children that is really beautiful. And I mean, I see it in my kids. I think I can remember it and reflect upon it as looking back now on my childhood. But yeah, I think that the older we get, the hardened to we start to kind of ossify and kind of we have less bones in our body. Like, we're suddenly like not as intuitive to that kind of tapping into that, whether that's creativity or something other. I'll leave that up to the Jungians out there. But I mean, like, I think it stands to reason that like if we don't have those kind of built-in parameters yet to protect, like the protective shells yet, like as kids, we're gonna just tap into.
Well, yeah, because kids are open to anything and everything, right? Like, it doesn't matter what it is. If it seems weird to adults, if you tell a kid a thing, they're like, okay. So I mean, I think that's a very accurate way of looking at it. There's the Stir of Echoes movie with Kevin Bacon, obviously based off the Richard Matheson. And the behind the scenes stuff on the original DVD release, I remember them like having a whole documentary about like kids seeing that kind of stuff. And the whole argument was, like they haven't been told it's not real yet.
Yeah.
So their minds are completely open. So whatever is there can make itself known.
Yeah.
And I think that's super cool. I'm not a believer in the supernatural, but I do think that kind of concept of, and I mean, I've seen stuff I can't explain either, but I'm way more willing to try to just be like, I was very sleepy, as opposed to it was a ghost.
Brendan.
Well, then there's the idea that as adults, once we hit a certain age, we're always very sleepy, so we can write off that stuff all the time.
Yep.
Or I don't know if I'm just speaking for those of us with kids, but I think
I'm the only one here without children.
So if you see something out of the corner of your eye, you're not too sleepy, and it is in fact there.
Yeah, it's there.
Just look behind him, man. That's such a cool background. Audio listeners cannot see that, but yeah, that's the best background I've seen. You and Tim. Oh my God, his last name's slipping my mind. Brendan, help me.
Leben McGregor.
He wrote the Running in the Dark, Halloween. Tim Wagner.
Wagner. Yes.
Yeah, he's got a really cool background too.
Oh,
it's all pops. Final
Tim
pops.
Robbins. Tim Robbins. That's who it. Tim Robbins.
Tiny Tim. Go ahead, Brendan.
Thank you for that tangent. No, I think actually, Pat, I think that was a really great question, and I love kind of where it went.
What Tim's last name is?
No, not that question. The actual good one. Just that idea of is there something to see, or are they just more open to it, or is it some sort of combination between the two? Clay, I want to backtrack a tiny bit. You had mentioned that here I'm just throwing out all these raw points of data. I don't know if they connect or not. I don't particularly care. And I think that's a great way of looking at it, because when we ask somebody what got you into horror, in a way, we're almost kind of rephrasing the question of what scares you. And to me, I feel like if you can completely answer that question, you've tapped into something that most of the rest of us have not. We might be able to identify certain points there, but really, really getting to the bottom of that question is why we create, whether, whatever medium it's through. So with you kind of using that jumping off point to start telling stories and making plays and stuff, did you ever consider that you were, taking the way you felt and trying to make other people feel that same thing?
I mean, it's interesting because, honestly, I think it was more often than not a desire to connect with other people. I guess I could say I started off with like more with like a theatrical upbringing. Like I was naturally kind of predisposed to being a ham, always trying to make adults laugh or pay attention to me. That kind of sidelined into writing plays and performing for family gatherings or whatever. So your point of like making others feel the way that I felt. I don't know if it was so much that I wanted people to feel the way that I felt as much as it was, there's this weird kind of cognitive dissonance or tension. There's a tension between this idea of like, I want to write, and I like, this is a very kind of singular, solitary, private, like this is the life of the mind. Like I'm in this room, I'm working at this desk, I'm at my computer, and like I'm manifesting a world for one. And but then there's like this desire to cross some ethereal barrier, some boundary, whether it's the fourth wall, whether it's the person who cracks open the book or like presses play on the DVD, like just this. I mean, I just remember, it wasn't loneliness, but it was, I mean, maybe it was, but it was like, it was this feeling of like, I want to reach out and just touch someone. Like I want to connect. Like I want to communicate with someone else. And, not being of a certain kind of, like there's that weird kind of introvert where it's like, you're just quiet for hours on end. And then there's this moment where it just like a dam breaks and all of a sudden you're just like, like, and you like have to like, I don't know. It's like the weird thing of like, I imagine some performer, some famous actor, like well-known actor is probably like, can do 1,000,001 like bombastic things on stage, but as soon as they're off stage, they're very, like, they're very like, like I feel like that's what writing is for me, where it's just like, there's this solitariness and the solitude. We're on the island. And then there's just this innate desire to like put that book in a bottle and just throw it out there for somebody to catch it, Oh. Did that even come close to answering the question?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, forgive me if I'm kind of taking your answer and adding words to your mouth, but I almost see it as art as a conversation, as opposed to I feel this way, now I want to make you feel this way. I almost kind of interpret it as, here's something that makes me feel a certain way. Let's have a conversation. How does it impact you? If it doesn't, what does impact you? But also kind of a way to take those same emotions that you're trying to have a conversation about and just give them a release point. So, same question. Am I coming anywhere close?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's interesting because like, I do think it's, the books that meant the most to me felt like they were written just for me. Like I read them and I'm like, the author died 10, 20, 30, 100 years ago. And yet this book, like they wrote it for like I feel as if this narrator, this character is like talking to me, or the writer is talking to me. And like, I mean, I do have like pivot, like I just remember what it's like to, and like, say what you will, but I remember the first time I read Catcher in the Rye and just being like, oh my God, this is amazing. like he's talking to me. Or, I mean, even something like Geek Love by Catherine Dunn, probably my favorite book. Like, it's written from the first person perspective. God, it is. And it's just like, it's beautiful and it's written just for me. I'm sorry to the millions of other people who think the book was written for them. It's not. It was like Catherine Dunn, like she wrote it just for me. And like, there's something like beautiful about that. And I don't know, like, I would be so lucky to, reach, like connect to whoever's on the other side. But the gesture is there. The desire is there. Yeah, I don't know. It's a funny conundrum.
On a much smaller scale, my first book that went out in the world, one of my favorite compliments that I've received from a few people is that the group of friends, the trio, that kind of it centers around, the reader's friends, that it was them dropped into their group. And I feel like if you can kind of cultivate an environment like that, like, again, it's not, I don't have any illusions that people may be reading this book in 100 years and saying, he wrote that for me. But if you can connect with somebody in that way, where they've been dropped into your story and it just speaks to them on that level, like that's special. That's really something.
It totally is. I mean, like, like I think that is the kind of moment. And like, it's weird because like we're hamstrung as authors where we won't know if we connect with anybody. I mean, like maybe more now because of social media and like the lines of communication are a little bit more open. You'll also hear when a book doesn't connect with, but it's funny how you just don't know. And, I mean, I think that's where the kind of message in a bottle notion comes from, where you just don't, you're casting these things out there and just like hoping that they hit or they land with somebody. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe it's a lot of people, maybe it's a few people. There's this musical called Title of Show. It was like a off-Broadway musical that I think went Broadway for a little bit, and it's all about writing a musical. And there's a lyric that's like, I would rather be 10 people's number one thing than 100 people's 10th thing. And I feel like that's such a good kind of metric to like, God, if I had 10 people who I don't know, like felt like these characters kind of landed into their circle of friends, that would be amazing. But we'll never know.
I think you'll get that with Ghost Eaters, which is a good segue for me to say, Chance, is that the book that you feel that way towards?
Oh, I mean, yeah. So Clay and I have briefly talked on Twitter about this, and then we brought it up a couple times in my podcast. And we'll do a conversation about it here in just a few weeks over on Terrifying Tomes. But yeah, Ghost Eaters resonated with me on a very, very deep level, because I had, in high school and first year of college, I had a friend named Silas, who was the charismatic leader of our group. And he also suffered from a lot of addiction-related maladies and passed away due to an overdose.
Oh, shit.
So
that's fucking crazy. Holy fuck. Yeah,
reading Ghost Eaters, I stopped reading at one point and like tagged Clay on Twitter and was just like, holy shit. Like, this book is hitting home in a way that very few things have for me. And then by the time I finished it, I read it. Really, the only break was when I tagged Clay. The rest of it I read it in a single sitting, and it ended, and I was just like, I don't even know how to process the emotions I'm feeling about this book. But the more I thought about it, and then, when I read it again and again, and then I had to request it from NetGalley because they took it away. But I just, it's kind of it's weird, but it's kind of a comfort book for me now, that I can just pop in there and hang out with Erin and go through all of that trauma with her side by side. And I don't know, it's weirdly comforting. But yes, Ghost Eaters, that is a book that it very much felt like it was written specifically for me. So yeah.
Yeah.
That did end up being a damn good segue. Chance, I appreciate you sharing that. That's really intriguing. All right, so Clay, we learned really early on in this show that we should not try and synopsize people's books because we're bad at it and because we tend to spoil. So we're going to ask you to, just kind of give us give listeners the pitch.
Okay. I mean, I'm pretty terrible at it too.
That's not true. We recorded an ad together, Clay.
I love those 2 ads, by the way. Just gonna say, because it's Chance just introducing you, and then I set it up in a way where, like, 2 ads later, it's Chance coming back. Curator of horror. That's a great nickname.
Okay. So Ghost Eaters is about a haunted drug. You pop a pill and you see the dead. And that's the kind of, oh God, that's the elevator pitch version of it. Like, I think that's that's the hook. That's the thing that, like, oh, wow, that sounds interesting. You know, but where you go from there is there's a group of friends, there's a circle of friends who have recently graduated from college, and they're in their early to mid 20s, and they still have not kind of found their way. They're kind of post-collegiate, post-academic kind of adult life, where they're still kind of caught in that liminal space between, you know, childhood and adulthood. Like they're kind of like they still have their vestigial tales. But in that group there is a character by the name of Silas, who has kind of rallied the troops to kind of, you know, live life, to go, to, like, you know, do things, you know, just live life to the absolute fullest, and just, like, never say no. And it leads them down some pretty wild paths, and eventually, inevitably, it leads to drugs, which leads to addiction, which leads to overdose. And I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler, but Silas,
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah. I mean, it's on the back cover, so
You're right. Yeah, I mean, it's the catalyst for it, so I don't think that's a spoiler.
No, it's right there. Silas overdoses, and the group discovers that Silas had been kind of he had discovered himself a new-ish drug that is called Ghost. And when you take Ghost, you are able to connect with the other side. And Erin, the protagonist of this group of friends, has her own kind of addictions, and you know, through her grief, she wants to reconnect with Silas. So she and her friends, her surviving friends, perform a hallucinogenic seance and contact their friend. And
it gets worse.
It's really good social commentary on, like, what would happen in real life. But it's no secret. I told you 3 that it's the creepiest ghost story, but it's the creepiest book. One of the creepiest books I've ever read. And it's the way you, not only because we're playing Tell Me If I'm...
No shaking head.
Tell me if I gotta cut some of this out. But for me, it's because of, first off, like, fungal horror, whatever, if that's even a thing.
Yeah.
I've written about in my own fiction too, because it creeps me out. I like mushrooms, like not the hallucinogenic kind. I've never had those.
No,
but
you said it. No.
Brennan's down there, like, he always phrases things so poorly.
Have you listened to the show, Chance? It's 158 episodes of this shit.
I'm smart enough to know how to do this, but enough to get myself in trouble. But anyways, it's the way you describe ghosts, the actual spirits. It's a lot different than, I don't want to give any details, but it's a lot different than typical ways people would describe a ghost. And it seems like they're suffering. And isn't that really what ghosts are?
Yeah, man. I got obsessed. It's weird. Like, this book has a lot of my kind of, like, pet obsessions in it. Like, I got obsessed for some reason with, like, clear plastic tarps. Like, I just needed Like I just like every time I see a clear plastic tarp, I just like that is what I obsess about right now. The writing in the book.
Dexter?
I mean, sure. Yeah, like I mean, like even I mean, like there's so I mean, like every goddamn horror like clear plastic tarps are the scariest things in the world. I mean, you mentioned fungal horror, and I mean, I don't think it's. I mean, it's not a. I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler. I mean, it is a natural progression to the book. Like you're gonna find it, but I don't know if I care. I don't. It's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler, right? I mean, do you?
I
read the book, so
yeah, I don't know, Clay. Like I read this so long ago, man. We've had so many conversations about it. I don't know.
I don't think. I mean,
I don't.
Book's been up for 10 years. It doesn't matter.
I felt comfortable enough using mushroom emojis talking about it. So,
I mean, they're like. There is, I mean, you mention, Patrick, you're talking about fungal horror as a thing. Like, I mean, fungal horror is like having a moment right now. Like,
hell yeah, it is.
What Moves the Dead?
Yes.
God, that one. Oh my God, that's insane.
And absolutely incredible.
The Last of Us. That's a video game, but that's gonna be.
It's about to be about to be a show with Pedro Pascal.
Wow.
Yeah, that looks really fucking cool. I like that actor. Man, you nailed his name. I would have fucked it up.
When does that come out?
You should ask the curator of knowledge.
Curator of knowledge.
No, I'm the curator of horror, not knowledge.
Curator of horror video games. When does that become?
I don't know. But I do have my copy of What Moves the Dead right here. Yeah.
Nice. I like that cover.
It's a gorgeous cover.
I know that's a pseudonym, but like, does anyone know what T. Kingfisher looks like, or is it just like Banksy?
I know on Twitter it's like Ursula something.
They're out there. I don't know the decision behind what is written with what nomenclature, but I think they're public, right?
I believe
Not
so.
Sure.
I don't think they're hiding.
Yeah,
I don't know the reason.
I mean, there's a few out there like that, like Shauna McGuire, also probably Mira Grant and
Jonathan Jantz.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure that's not a secret.
Jantz or curator of horror.
Pat McDonough. Real name's Brendan.
No, I'm just me. I mean, you may find stuff about me with like my old usernames or something. That'd be weird though.
No, but fungal horror is really having a moment, and I'm sure, like I think we owe it all to. Oh no! Oh my God! Why am I blanking on the name of the book that is the book?
Which one?
No,
Annihilation.
No, well, that for sure. But like, why?
I don't know. That was my first thought.
New book out a few years ago.
Yes. Why?
Which one?
Oh my God, it's so late. Why is this so impossible to?
Let's do it in charades. Act the book out.
So while Clay's looking for that, Mark Matthews,
Mexican Gothic.
Nailed it.
Oh yeah.
God, that's embarrassing. You have to keep that in. You can't edit that part out. Like I have to like suffer.
We don't even know how to edit.
Who wrote it?
Sylvia Marino.
I thought Clay would get it.
Sylvia Moreno Garcia.
Yeah.
So Mark Matthews asked, it's more of a comment. We want another novel from the Ghost Eaters universe. It's not even out yet at the date of recording this. It's you Clay. The hard way or the easy way, write another one, please. And below that, I know you replied, Clay, but below that is a picture of oh my God, now I'm blanking on her name. From holy fuck, it is Contagious.
You guys are a fucking mess tonight.
From that show, from that movie that's based on a Stephen King. Fucking hell. Someone jump in. It starts with an M.
You've got to be way more specific.
Misery?
Misery, that's it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had my own little...
Kathy Bates.
This is gonna be amazing because it's gonna be all of us like an hour of us just being like, and there's that thing with the person from that thoughts. Yeah.
Does anyone
I
else
mean,
think
yeah,
that?
this is a community bottle episode. Like,
Yeah.
it's-
Does anyone think that Clay kind of resembles Mallerman, or Mallerman resembles Clay in some ways?
Josh Mallerman?
Yeah.
He's got hair.
No, but not physically, but like the cadence of
Energy.
speech, the
Oh.
energy.
Oh.
Yeah,
Again,
I love
phrasing.
it. I love it. I don't know. You know, that's what editors are for.
Yeah, stop this and just play Hangman. Chance, you've got to have a whiteboard back there somewhere.
You'd think so, right?
So
But no.
Clay, tell us about how Comic-Con went.
Oh, it was great. Oh my God, it was great. It was it wasn't the first like, you know, I've felt pretty secluded these last couple of years, and you know, haven't done many events, in-person things. But this is the year to kind of like kick back into like gear and start doing like, you know, like doing things. And I was lucky to go to ALA. I've done a few like reading signing events, but like going back to Comic-Con, like
Yeah.
even though they say they did it at a much more limited capacity, that, I mean, like it just felt like diving in, and I'm amazed I didn't catch something, you
Yeah.
know, COVID or otherwise. Like it like
Well,
it was,
yeah, because con crud was always a thing, even in the pre-pandemic era.
it is. And but it was great. I mean, like there were people there, and you know, it was an event to kind of talk about Ghost Eaters, which was really exciting. But yeah, I mean, like I have been so I've just been yearning for it. I'm missing it. Like I want to kind of reconnect with humanity and people, that like I was I just like walked in and it was just kind of like bathing in people. So it was for me, it was a lot of fun, and I got to do a panel, which felt very
Crazy.
yeah, like I mean, like it was, I don't know, it just felt special. Like it felt special.
Yeah.
And there were people there. Like people wanted to be there. Like that's the thing. Like, you know, I usually do events for like 1-2 people. And you know, like everybody who was there wanted to be there. And they might not have wanted to be there for me, but they were there. And like you had this like opportunity to kind of be there together. And that was pretty cool.
Very cool.
That's
What was the
awesome.
panel?
Oh my God. It had a long name of like creepy writers talking about the creepy creepers, like creepy showed up at least once. Creepy crawly authors. It was that title for that panel at that convention. Those authors.
I used to love playing with creepy crawlers. That it was basically like an easy bake oven, but for like little
Yes.
weird boys. I used to have one of those. Loved it.
Well, yeah,
Wow.
girls like cookies, boys like scorpion jellies.
I want that again.
At least as the early 90s taught us.
Yeah. Does anyone want to jump into Clay's other project that's really, really exciting?
Well, which one?
It sounds like you want to lead us there, so just go ahead.
It's a movie.
So we're talking Wendell and the Wild, I believe is the title.
Thank you. I didn't remember the title.
This is that thing with those people.
It's that thing being produced by Jordan Peele and co-written with Henry Selick. Are you kidding me? Henry fucking Selick? Like,
Yeah,
dude is
yeah.
legend.
Let's hear about it.
It's super friggin' awesome. I don't know how to I don't know how to talk about it because I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
That's fair.
No.
That's fair.
You just
So
say it's awesome, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's exciting. I mean, like it's wild. It's Wendell and wild. So
that's it. That's the soundbite.
there you go. But yeah, I don't know what I can say other than like it's going to be on Netflix in October.
Sweet.
Dude, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Not just to watch it, but for you, because then what? Your other project was Amazon.
Yeah. Jeez, I don't know.
Like it seemed like you retweeted it from last year, so it looks like it's moving forward.
It was so fun. Like,
because I noticed that I didn't comment on it, but I noticed that you retweeted a tweet from 2021, and everyone was like, "This is crazy and cool," and I'm like, "This is obviously from a year ago."
It's so silly. Like when you acknowledge, when like you realize that like we're all just trying to get people to pay attention to us,
Yeah,
and like trying to like what are I mean, okay, just because you called me out, I'm gonna what it was. Like someone, like you ever have those like ghost likes or ghost retweets where like you tweet something and then like a year later someone likes it,
yeah.
and you say to yourself, why the hell did someone
where in the algorithm did you fucking fall into?
and that's what happened. What was that, Sunday? Like it was like this like somebody liked that tweet. This sounds so stupid. This is like the stupidest thing I've ever like someone liked it, and it was probably a bot. It was probably not a real person, but they liked it, and I was like, that's so weird that someone liked this thing that was from a year ago. And then I mean, I don't know why, but I was like, well, I guess I'll retweet it.
Just retweet it.
And it was just like I don't know, like why the hell not? And then everybody started liking it again. And it's kind of like, oh, like, but yeah, I mean, yeah, the Amazon thing is like, we have this development deal. We're working on a show. We wrote the pilot. We're working on this thing called a format, like, which is like the kind of the pitch, the Bible, the show Bible. There are so many hoops to jump through. There's so many chances for Amazon to say no. But that said, like, it's active. We are developing it. It is insane to be working with the creators of Westworld.
Yeah.
Jonathan Nolan.
Yeah.
Like, Lisa Joy. Like, it's insane. Like,
I worked with Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. I am like 8 degrees away from Sir Anthony.
I was gonna say,
so close.
Jonathan Nolan is the Jamie Flanagan of the Nolans, which is to say, almost more talented but less recognized.
There you go. That's good.
So long to Mike ever coming on. Those fuckers.
Hey, no, Mike's amazing, but Jamie is fucking incredible, man.
I was
no arguments.
My only Jamie Flanagan story is that we were at StokerCon.
Yes.
And he apparently got locked out of his hotel room, and we were sharing the elevator down, and we never have been introduced to one another, but I knew who he is because he is who he is. And he was like, I just had a nap. I can't do a impersonation, but it was like, he was just like, but
thank you for trying.
I mean, he's like such an affable guy.
Yes.
Just like, I don't know why. And this, like,
he just, everything he says is not just matter of fact, but he typically has an upbeat to it.
Yeah. He's like,
yeah,
I just
like
had
this. I don't know how he talks, so I'm not making fun of him. I'm just asking.
He's like, I just had a nap, and now I locked myself out of my room. So now I gotta go down to the lobby to get Becky. And I was like, oh man, that sucks. And that's my Jamie story.
Wow.
Boom.
Yeah, Clay told me something there, a new thought on Twitter earlier was that I've talked to more authors via my podcast than he's talked to authors in real life. And
But it's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And it's such an interesting way to look at it. Because you're talking about, like, that's my Jamie Flanagan story. I talked to Jamie and Rebecca Klingel for damn near 2 hours.
When's that coming out?
Oh, that's been out. That's out. That's long released.
Oh God, I should have done my homework.
Busted.
Yes.
I try keeping up with podcasts, but then I've been
Dude,
listening.
no, I'm the same way. If you were like, what was the last episode re-released? I'd be like, Tuh.
Me too.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks going back to that conversation.
I love Brennan just punching in. I dig it.
Yeah, you punching up, you son of a bitch.
Well, you should always punch
up
up.
is debatable.
Well, I'm taller than you, so
Damn.
It's true. It's true. All right, I'm gonna steer us.
Yes.
So-
Brennan, please us back on course, please.
Clay, one thing I'd love to hear you talk about in, reading the remaking and Whisper Down the Lane, especially, there are so many horror references. I mean, you thumb through Whisper Down the Lane. You've got the Castavets. You've got Professor Howdy, a character by the last name of Levin. We go over to the remaking, and I mean, your director is Lee Ketchum, which I have to imagine is Edward Lee for the first name. And one thing that Patrick and I are big believers in is being students of horror is, understanding the roots of the genre, whether it be film, books, or combination of the two, to kind of pay homage to and see what's been done before you can go to next. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, the roots of the genre and incorporating that into your storytelling.
Damn, Brennan.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I first discovered My Family Tree in the 7th grade when I read Night Shift by Stephen King. And Skeleton Crew and Night Shift were like fundamental texts. I just loved, I was not paying attention to my English teacher, but I was reading Stephen King in class. And Stephen King got me to Poe, got me to Lovecraft, got me to Straub. You find your kind of gateway drugs, your gateway authors. And King was like...
Your ghosts.
I mean, King was he was the floodgate,
Yeah.
And
oh yeah,
Danse Macabre, you read that book and it's just then you're suddenly making the laundry list of I gotta watch this, I gotta read this, I gotta watch this, I gotta read that. I mean, that was the education right there. Yeah. But it led, I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. Virginia is my home. It's in my body. But being kind of in the birthplace of Poe was really kind of fundamental too. And King led me to Poe in a way that my teachers couldn't. Teachers would talk, I remember reading Poe and learning about Poe, but it just never clicked. King got me to Poe. It showed me the ancestry and the lineage of Poe. And
not to cut you off, but I think every reader knows exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah.
It's so important. It's I don't know. I don't know. Someone should draw the kind of family tree where it's you just can see the branches and the tendrils and the kudzu of how one author can kind of spawn the next generation, which spawns the next generation. But
when by your use of the word kudzu that you are definitely a southerner.
Southern horror.
when you get to the kudzu of the family tree, you know that you have entered into the southern.
You are definitely from Virginia, sir.
Where the humidity is just thick as kudzu crawling on the statue of marble.
You sound like that bad guy from Wild Wild West.
That's not a compliment.
Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, the one that was
British.
missing half his body.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, it was like very Foghorn Leghorn. I do declare
that we are talking about the Stephen of a king. No, okay. Poe, fucking friggin' fraggity Poe.
Fuckity figgity Poe. That's awesome.
I honestly he was the gateway. He was the there was something about Poe that was just so fundamental to me and my DNA. Probably, it took King to get there, but when I got to Poe, it was here's an author who utilizes first person narrative in such a way that I, as the reader, feel like I am being absorbed into the story. Like the fourth wall, whatever invisible barrier there is between me, the reader, and the narrator, ergo Poe, that line blurs or gets pushed back to such a degree that I'm brought into the story. And I love first person narrative. So that would that to me was the kind of okay, you can use writing as a form of communication, that it's not just pick up a book, open up a book, read a book, close a book. There's the book, books to me, the best books, the most profound books are they're literary depth charges where you open them and read them and they drop their tonnage into your imagination. And then it doesn't matter when they explode, when they detonate. It could be right away, it could be a week later, years later, but it's when it blows, your life changes. And books can do that, and Poe did that. And then a little bit off the beaten path, this other writer by the name of I, spelled AI. She's a poet. Say whatever you want to say about, go to the local Barnes and Noble in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and go to the poetry section, and there is a poet by the name of I, and you have to find
what's their surname.
It's just AI, that's it.
Oh,
and I mean, Vice, find Vice. I mean, there's the collected works now. Cruelty, Killing Floor, Greed, her stuff. She basically said that I mean, she's this amalgamation of cultures. She's part Japanese, part Native American, part African American. She's this kind of this kind of pot of culture, boiling pot of culture, and it all creates this simmering tension that manifests itself in her work. And it's all first person narrative, where she'll be the the Atlanta child killer, or Hoffa, or Marilyn Monroe, but they're all horror stories. It's amazing. Oh my god. Sorry for the sidebar tangent. You asked about
that's great.
The legacy of horror, and the remaking is a lark. The remaking was I wanted to kind of pay lip service and respect and homage to certain things that mattered a lot to me, film, but also the kind of the durability of storytelling. The remaking, is a mimetic, threadbare. It's almost it is a book, I swear, but there's a certain kind of I don't know, it's a, to me it's always an incantation, or there's something more kind of I don't know. I don't know if it's the sum of its parts, but there's something, I wanted it to be something more kind of gestural, or I don't know, I'm making visual images here, but like cyclical, like there's something kind of like an incantation to it. But yeah, like I wanted to just talk about stories and how they evolve over time. And to do that, I wanted to kind of pay respect to a lot of the horror films and storytellers that meant a lot to me, and movies that I loved. And then, Whisper Down the Lane, I don't, if I'm being totally candid, I really I kind of regret it now, how much there's like a wink wink nudge nudge to the characters. And as soon as I couldn't change anything, that was the second I really regretted it. Because I was like, I don't think I trusted myself enough or the story enough to feel like it didn't need it. But like, it was like, if I add this layer of like, it's not even homage, but it's like tipping the hat to the books that inspired it, like Ira Levin. Like there were so many like important, like, Blatty, like,
Kinderman.
Yeah, like they're just like, I just wanted to like pay my respects to them and say, you had a fundamental component to making this book. And then I just like, I don't know, like I started like feeling a little squeamish, sheepish about it, where it's like, oh man, is this corny? Is this cheesy? Because it's so freaking obvious. Like, it's just like, it's like almost like belligerently, like I think it kind of hits you over the head at a certain point. But so it's just me being like, waka waka, like, hey, have you ever read Rosemary's Baby? Remember this character? And like, I'm just like, I like at this point, I'm just like, man, like, why did I need to do that? But I did it, and it's done. And
I think there's a certain humbleness to it, though. And I view it as, instead of trying to put this book in people's hands and making out like you're, more clever than you really are, or like you've reinvented the wheel, you're basically saying, I understand that there have been people that wrote in this genre before, and they've done a damn good job. And I want to see if I can, if I can build on their shoulders and make my mark on it. Yeah. I totally understand your feelings of, oh shit, I wish I wasn't so overt there. Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of how I view it. Here are the people who I respect, who have told stories I love, using these ideas. And here's my contribution here's what I think I can add to the conversation.
Well, it's funny because, like, I mean, I think we're in an era of pastiche, and, for better or for worse, I think post Quentin Tarantino, post Scream, like there is a certain kind of acknowledgement of, or just the remix. Like I think we're kind of in a land of literary like DJing, where it's not so much that it's rehashing, but it's saying, here is our kind of pop cultural horror genre heritage, and this is the stuff that I have imbibed and loved. And I'm going to process it, filter it through my own personal lens, and it's going to become something new. Maybe not something altogether different, but it is a kind of like, it is the kind of the filter or the lens in which that material passes through me, through the author, to this story, that it becomes its own thing. It is, I don't know, like I have an affinity, I have a soft spot for Quentin Tarantino, because I saw Reservoir Dogs at an age where it changed my life. And
a good movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. And I think that, like, for generations, for a whole generation of artists out there, he basically taught us that, like, you can take the things that matter to you, that you love, like just eat, like chew them up and poop them out, and it becomes something new, you know. And this is like Whisper Down the Lane's my poop.
I prefer
when we
remix,
talk about
but
this. Like, Brendan, what's your shit? Is Slattery Falls? Because you've already said I was going for a joke.
oh,
But
I don't
it
like
wasn't
the way
funny.
you're phrasing this.
No. But you know what? Taking the joke out of it, in all seriousness, Brennan's Slattery Falls is heavily influenced off of Jonathan Jan's book. So he kind of talks about that book like you do with quite a few other things, Clay.
Yeah. Do you? I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of nice to think that we can be in conversation with these writers, right? Even if we never actually are in conversation with them. Like, have you talked to Jans? Like, is he someone that you speak to? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we had him on not last year. I think it was the year before, when I was kind of I had the first draft done. I was working on, you know, edits and shopping around, and you know, I'm a big believer in telling somebody if their work means something to you. And now that I've written several books, I'm really a big believer in people telling, you know, sharing that their work means your work means something to them, or their work means something to you. And I did share that with him. And you know, obviously there are authors and movie makers that are no longer with us where that's not possible. But I even back to where I think you were going, where art is a conversation where we can kind of be influenced and say, you know, what if that, but this way? What if, you know, this person who has an entirely different background, lives in a different part of the country, different, you know, socioeconomic status, whatever it is, what can I bring with my background with those, you know, elements of story? I think that's a vital part of creating. I mean, there's the age of people have been saying for hundreds of years that every story's been told, but there's always new spins you can put on it.
Ghost Eaters had not been told before.
Is that true though? Is that? I mean, I'm not gonna.
Your particular twist on this kind of like addiction, grief, and building it into a supernatural element, and then introducing fungus. I mean, yeah, no, you created a very unique blend. Now, that's not to say that those individual ingredients didn't exist before, and those individual ingredients hadn't been used to create something similar. But yours is completely unique.
Yeah.
Let's find 10,000 more of you to.
Yeah, but then you're going to deny that you said that you wanted me to be cloned.
I mean, Chance, I'm going on record here as saying that, like, I feel as if this book, if this book is like does well at all, I think you can probably single-handedly say that you have been banging this fucking drum for so
your arm must be so
months.
tired.
half a year at this
It's
point.
true.
Now,
He is your biggest cheerleader, and that's why he's here tonight.
I know. When Pat asked me, I joked. I was like, "Clay's gonna get a restraining order." You guys know that, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean,
he did refuse to wear the cheerleader outfit, though. He said that would be too much.
I got the bottom half on, so that's fine.
Yeah, you can't
Oh my
see you
God.
can't see the pleated skirt. But no, I mean it's
leave my cake alone, Clay.
I did think it was funny though that as far as like Twitter era or that level stuff, like Ghost Eaters and me have become synonymous.
I mean, because we're having this intervention on the podcast, I mean, it is, there's just no other way to say it other than like, it means the world to me, because it is not something that happen. Like it never happens to me. Like I don't like I feel as if there are other authors who who have their advocates, and like I don't know, like it's just an anomaly to me. So like I mean, Chance, thank you for being as adamant and supportive as you have been, because honestly, like there are days where it just feels like you're throwing this stuff out into the ether and you just never know if it's going to land with anybody, and it landed with you in such a way that it is completely flummoxing and surprising, and like like it leaves me speechless every time, and like I I don't know how to, sometimes I don't even know how to react to it, because it's just like it's not something that is, it's just not in my purview. And, I don't know, like it means so much, and I don't know if it's I mean, like I don't know how other people react. I don't know if it's off-putting or like weird, but it's like it's it is this thing, like I feel very fortunate, and what means the world to me is that you're in a position, you are in a position at all of you, the three of you, good Lord, like, you're advocating for work that you've responded to, and whether that's because you have your podcast or because you're a bookseller or just a fan, like I mean, like this is the thing, like it's I feel like we as writers, we're all in our kind of on our island, and we're just throwing this stuff in the wind, right? Like it just, you never know, like you don't know who it's going to land with. But then if you can convince one person, and then that person can convince someone else, and then that person convinces someone else, like I don't know, like
it's almost like someone like me could convince someone like Pat to read this book.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like truthfully, like that's
so good.
No, but
that's
like,
how that happened. I mean, there's so many people that message me and they're like, I would not have read Ghost Eaters had you not been so fervent in your enthusiasm. And it's like, well, it's the best damned thing I've read in years. Yeah, I'm gonna be fervent about it. Read the damn book.
I remember exactly where I was. I was on a road trip back home, and I listened to your podcast, and you two have this bond where it's really incredible. It really is, where it makes me excited to. I started listening to Chance's podcast, and I started reading your book. So I think I'm not in a minority camp with that, though.
I agree, considering that those first two episodes are still the most downloaded episodes of the podcast.
Nice. Chance,
more people have listened to Clay and I talk than have listened to me talk to Paul Tremblay or Ellen Datlow or Haley Piper.
Now's a good time to advertise, even though you have an ad in the beginning. Tell us more about your podcast.
So yeah, Terrifying Tomes of Terror is my podcast where I interview horror authors about their books, or at least that's the table read of that. In reality, it's like we talk about the book a bit, and then it would just chat. We just have a good time. It's a very loose conversation. My most recent episode with Ellen Datlow, I barely got 5 words in. And I'm good with that because it was a fantastic episode. I had Laurel Hightower as my co-host for that, and I mean, I want a Mad Men style television show about Ellen Datlow's rise to power in publishing. The way that she tells those stories on the podcast, I was picturing it. Like, she knows everybody's names. She knows years. Like, it's bonkers. And yeah, so if you want really super casual conversations with horror authors, Terrifying Tomes of Terror, wherever you get your podcasts.
And just one more thing. I know this is all about Clay, but I do want people to hear at least a little bit about you. You've been talking for the last hour and a half with us, but tell us a little bit, because this is why I wanted to talk to you more and more and more. The more I get to know you, I want to be this guy's friend. So I think that you should tell our listeners a little bit about you, so that could be your hook. If it already isn't after what you just said.
Are you asking me or are you asking Chance?
Oh, Chance, because Clay, people are already going to buy your book, so shut up. No, just kidding. He's
If
like,
they want their dog back from Chance, they'll buy your book.
yeah. You know what? That was so rude of me. I'm fired. Chance, why don't you talk? You're running the show now.
I also thought that question was for Clay, so I kind of tuned out on it.
I'm just gonna blame ADHD.
I
Easy cop out.
I was like, oh, this is a Clay question, and so I did not catch all of that about me. Me is me.
You as you. Like, why should people listen to your show? And then we'll get back to that lovely man, Clay.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm a bookseller. I work 40 hours a week, helping to manage a Barnes and Noble. I would argue that I have one of the 10 best horror sections in a Barnes and Noble in America. Potentially top 5, but I'm gonna say 10 and try to be a little humble about it.
Chance, I've been in a lot of Barnes and Nobles in the Massachusetts and Rhode Island area, and they don't compare.
Yeah.
Just from seeing what's offered elsewhere, I would put you in the top 5 by default.
Same for the ones in Jersey.
See, I'll take it. But yeah, I'm a horror fan for life. I watch The Fly and Hellraiser way too early.
Nice.
And definitely left an imprint on my psyche. I've been reading Stephen King and Mary Shelley and Stoker since the 3rd and 4th grade. I'm just a lifelong horror fan, but I like to sell people's books, especially if they're books that mean a lot to me, which is why I made it my personal goal to sell as many copies of Ghost Eaters. And if everything had gone according to plan, I would have a Ghost Eaters tattoo right here on my arm right now.
What happened?
My artist tested positive for COVID
the
morning of the appointment.
That's so fucked up.
So I have rescheduled to September 6th, which is then when Ghost Eaters will happen. And Clay, and I can send this to you if you want. Clay wrote "Want to Get Haunted" on paper and took a picture and sent it to me to be used in the tattoo.
Very cool. Now, I've seen you say you were going to get that online, and after you kind of telling your connection to the book, it makes so much more sense, and more power to you. That's excellent. Besides just being a fan of horror and loving that you put so much care and curation into your horror section, I think that, the community at large would probably, be on board to say thank you, just because a lot of the stuff you put in there is independent stuff that doesn't normally get a chance to be on the shelf. And that's fucking huge, man.
You said a chance.
That's don't interrupt me.
Sorry.
But seriously though, that's huge. And I know that there are a lot of people who have seen their book on your shelves who may not have seen it anywhere else in any store. And it's just so incredibly meaningful. So, I mean, good on you for doing that work.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate that. I have really tried to curate a fantastic horror section for my store. And yeah, there are several authors who have never been on a store shelf before who I have put on my shelves. So it's a cool feeling to be able to do that for people.
So then can I ask, I feel like given that we're all connected via social media now, that and I don't know if Chance is the kind of forerunner of this or not, but do you all feel as if there's been, even just this year, within the last couple of months, a certain kind of groundswell of other Barnes and Nobles kind of engaging and kind of partaking. Like I know the
I-
Barnes Noble on Libby Place in Richmond.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, James is the store manager there. Absolutely incredible. Breaks a lot of rules to bring in those titles. So good on him.
So Chance, is that you saying keep up, motherfuckers?
Hell yeah. No, absolutely. No, but Clay, I agree. Like there has been a groundswell. I mean, using Twitter handles, Violent Hearts, Dark Art Studios, Mad Girl, Mindy. There's so many of us that have really gone all in on getting that indie horror in. I'm not gonna. I'll take credit.
Well, I think I've seen you post things where you do converse with other managers. Say, I brought this book in, and it's doing really. I brought this Brian Asman book in, and it's really selling.
Top 10 every fucking week somehow.
Yeah.
No, I know
It has
somehow.
fuck
It's
on the
called
cover.
Man
It's
Fuck
a-
This House. Like, I get why it's a top 10 every week.
Yep.
We should really cover something that I don't think we have before, but Brian Keane on his old podcast did, and it never left me. Authors, and this doesn't mean do this in a unethical or dickish way, but consider talking with booksellers because they're your street team.
Yep.
They are literally selling your books. You can have good, reviewers or whatever, but I think it's important. So
word of mouth is the way to sell books.
Yeah.
100%. As someone who's on the ground, 40 hours a week doing this shit, word of mouth. That's how you do it. Well, 40 hours a week getting paid.
Yeah.
How many hours a week do I spend on the podcast and I don't get paid for that? Lots is the answer. But yeah, I mean, Clay, that's why, I mean, when I get the tattoo right here, this space right here, and then say want to get haunted. Can you imagine how great the hand sell is?
Especially when he gets the QR code that links right to the Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, that's gonna go right here. Just right the little circle QR. No, I'm not doing that. But I mean, holding out like want to get haunted, like holding Ghost Eaters and having the mushroomy skull mossy want to get haunted. Come on, man. That's great.
Speaking of Poe, when The Raven came out, it was really popular. And even in its time, little kids would go up behind him and not in like a mawkish way, but would say, nevermore, nevermore. So I think Clay's thing is going to be little kids saying, want to get haunted, which
Want to get haunted.
You're basically telling kids to do drugs. So that's not right, man. You are problematic. I didn't think I'd be able to pull that one off. There was a thing on Twitter. We never usually talk about stupid shit on Twitter because no one really gives a shit that isn't a part of the community. But I just thought it'd be funny for you guys. Maybe it's not. I don't know. So that's why I said it.
But I will say this about Twitter. I mean, I feel like I don't engage as much as I should with Twitter, but I do think what I have acknowledged, and it's what we were talking about here, where like booksellers are talking to other booksellers, and like it's kind of like as an author watching others kind of engage on this and kind of looking in from the sidelines, it's kind of phenomenal because it just goes to show that like there, the power of the hand cell, the kind of the actual, like a year ago, 2 years ago, I understood in theory when my publisher would be like, you got to go meet booksellers and you got to, meet them, talk to them, shake their hands. And I'd be like, yes, I want to do that. Let's do it. Let's totally do it. But I honestly, there was something kind of theoretical about it but now, and it is something about social media and just kind of the awareness of like advocacy that like booksellers are bringing the hand cell back. And maybe it's post-pandemic mentality. Maybe it's like we're all just wanting to like be in a store and we want to talk to each other. We want to, like, you know, not buy a book from Amazon. Like, you know, like there is something to be said about like walking into a store, a bookstore, independent, Barnes and Noble, wherever, and just be like, hey, I'm looking for something like this. Like, what do you recommend? And the bookseller will be like, oh, you got to check out this. You got to check out this. And that is like, that's powerful. Like you know, and it's exciting. And I mean, you know, I of course, like, you know, selfishly, like when they're talking about your book, it's like, oh my God, this is insane.
Yeah.
But like, you just realize that people love books. And if they love a book, they're going to try to tell someone else about it and share it. And that's like, God damn, that's amazing.
So can I interject briefly with one of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me?
Please.
Absolutely.
Weirdest things recently, we'll say that. But I had a couple days off, so I was not at the store. But apparently someone who follows me on Twitter went to my Barnes and Noble to see my horror section and asked if
cool.
I was there. And they were told I was not. I was off work.
That is celebrity status, sir.
And yeah, they wanted to just relay that they were one of my followers and they wanted to see it in person.
That's pretty cool.
And I was like,
show you their terrifying tomes of terror tattoo.
Oh no. Okay, I get it now, Clay. I get it. I get the terror. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, Clay is honestly, you can see his face every time I talk about the tattoo. He is terrified at this concept.
It's your body, man.
It's my body, and I've got a J.K. Rowling tattoo, man. You think I'm cool with that? It's fine.
it's just permanent. It's just a very permanent thing to do.
I've got Joss Whedon tattoos, man. Not like of Joss Whedon, like from Angel. But I don't have like Joss's face on my back. Don't research that.
So we have actually one more question from a nice young man named Brian McCauley. Which I'm gonna say a quick story because I asked him. Brendan and I didn't start. I mean, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't start really seeing people that we had no previous knowledge of before we saw them post about the show until this year.
I've been getting fan letters for 3 years.
Not what I meant. Don't really recommend giving people your address, you lunatic. But no, in all seriousness, Brian was one of them, and I asked him, like, how did you hear about us? Because I don't know how to fucking gauge it still. And he said, I was having like lunch with Philip Ricassi when he was in LA, and he mentioned it. And first off, I'm like, that sounds awesome to have lunch with Philip. And secondly, that's cool that he would mention that. But I'm not trying to sound braggadocious, but the whole thing is so weird because it goes back to like what you were saying, Chance, about someone that follows you that wanted to see something that you take pride in. And Clay, you're probably going to see a lot of that when this book comes out. So my long spiel is over. Brian says, hey, Clay, as a novelist, screenwriter, comic book writer, what are some of the similarities and differences in your story development process for each medium?
It's a good question. And, the answer is I try to let the story dictate how it wants to be told, which tends to have a little bit of a trial and error period to it, where some stories feel like they want to be comics and they become novels, or I think they want to be novels and they end up being something else. But in terms of the process, it's funny, like the similarities always kind of like I'm thinking more about what makes them, what they have in common more than what they have in what separates them. And it's always like a good collaborator. Like I think the comics, I mean, like this, like I'm only as good as my editor and I feel very fortunate that I've been able to work with some really good editors who can kind of call BS on me and elevate whatever I am trying to do, and push me and make me better. It's the collaboration that brings them together. Like, I think comic writing, I'm having a conversation with the artist, the penciler, the inker, the colorist. With film, I'm like trying to have a conversation with the director, the filmmaker. Novels, I don't know if I'm having the conversation with my editor or not, but my editor, like, they come in and they're like, "Are you sure you want to say that's what you want to say?" So maybe I'm trying to talk to the reader. But your editor's your first reader, or one of your first readers. The things that separate them or makes like the choice between one versus the other. I mean, formatting and structure, like like, I think, when you think of screenwriting and comic book writing, it's rare to believe that the thing that your contribution to it, the script, that's not the end result. That's not the final point in the process. You're building a foundation, you're building a schematic. You're an architect. So I think that's one of the fundamental differences. And I think screenwriting and comic book writing share kind of similarities, where they're both visual medium. They're four visual mediums, but you're kind of telling a story through its architecture, which is always really interesting. But you're creating a vessel of some sort, like for like some ghost to inhabit, like that Ghost in the Machine, which ends up being the film itself, or the comic itself, the artwork. Writing for novels and stuff that's more kind of like author to reader based. I don't know if I definitely don't have a canned answer for it. I should, but like, it's more the kind of like the target is just like ever so slightly different. Like, I'm thinking more of, who am I talking to? Like, who am I having this conversation with? And when I'm writing a novel, I have to, for myself personally, like, I need to think about who that listener is. Like, who would be the person who this would engage in this kind of conversation, this 300-page, 400-page conversation. Like, who's on the receiving end of that? So there's a target.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Me. I am the target.
So now's the time when we're gonna wrap down with a few more questions. And I just wanted we actually should probably do this a little bit more often, Brennan, but I wanted to remind everybody that we have many different formats, many different platforms: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Just look for Dead Headspace. And we'll start with you, Clay, and then Chance. Where can people follow you?
Well, we've talked a lot about Twitter. I'm on the Twitters and the Instagrams, the Facebooks. Yeah, I'm out there. Very, very Googleable.
How about you, Chance?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to get in contact with me is Twitter, at Curator of Horror, or at Terrifying Tomes. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok at Curator of Horror. I don't really use those though, so follow at your own discretion. I'm on Facebook, but that's a personal thing, and I add people I want to add, so don't do that.
Yeah, I totally get it. Where I was about to ask the same question. Clay, do you have any final thoughts?
I gotta say thank you. I mean, I know, I don't know, like, it's just funny how we're in a vacuum until someone says hello. So I don't know, I really appreciate you inviting me on. I was trying to get into the Dead Headspace for tonight, and I watched the Paul Tremblay podcast.
Oh, cool.
That's a good one.
episode. And it was just like, oh man, like
I like that one because Langan just totally shits on Brennan.
He does. We're mortal enemies.
I don't know. It just feels special. So thank you. I really appreciate you taking a chance on me.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I've your books are great. That was funny. I got it. I got the pun. Okay. Don't act like I didn't fucking get that, Brennan. I know that's why you're laughing.
No. But I'm worried.
I think he
about
was
our
laughing
poor
at my
audio
stupid
listeners
face
who
that I
won't
did.
Get to see Chance's face light up like a puppy who has just been selected at the kennel.
I'll tell you what. I do wish that I had this relationship with two authors that I probably won't ever. One for sure. That's a book that I connected with, Coco, Peter Straub's Coco. That was a life changer for me. I mean, I've talked with Peter a few times, but like he's doing his own thing. Bottom line, and then the other one is Red X by David Demchuk.
Yeah,
maybe
what a fucking book.
Yeah. I hope people read that because that is, it's so fucked up in a wonderful way, but it's a lot of truth in his. You people listen to this on the audio version will probably hear that. Yeah, you people listen. I don't know who you people are.
Driving, Pat. They can't watch YouTube.
I mean, if you want. So, Chance, do you have any final thoughts?
I don't know when this is releasing. So
August 29th. Oh, shit. Yeah. I didn't have you in here before that.
Yeah, August 29th. Okay. Pre-order Ghost Eaters. It comes out September 20th. There's plenty of time to do it. I've got the arc right here that Clay was kind enough to send to me. So
awesome.
I would have to stop requesting the NetGalley.
I got a digital dicks.
Oh,
he's got a.
And that cover is so fucking good.
I'm seeing people guys, on Twitter with the damned hardcover, and I am jealous as hell about it.
Can all of you hold up your copies? I want to take a screenshot of this because I don't got one. So you guys ready? We're gonna say cheese if you want. 1, 2, 3.
Nobody said it.
No one said it. That's all right.
I didn't say it. I was smiling.
Clay, really quickly, I think I remember you saying something about the texture of the hardcover version. Yeah. You want to cover that real quick?
Ooh, yeah, let's hear it.
What do they call it? There's like a name for it. Daniel Krauss,
like pebbled,
gritty matte or something like that. Like dirty matte or something like
dirty men, dirty pigs.
It's like, I mean, rub it in. Like, it's just like, I mean, there's something that feels so, I'm like getting it oily. Like, it's like,
I'm so excited to have one of the hardcovers.
But even this one, like Chance, I mean, this is a quality ass book.
It's a quality art.
Like, this is nicer than some like final versions that I have. Like a fair few final versions that I have.
Mine has a little thing here.
Oh,
oh, I'm sorry somebody wrote on it.
Oh yeah, shit.
Sure,
worthless now.
Yeah, return it.
Not for resale anyway, but
yep.
I am gonna go on record as saying Quirk does an amazing job.
Oh my god, yes.
Like they do not spare any expense. Like they really.
That's good.
That cover. Really well, and I tagged Clay in I made like the Facebook 3D image of the cover.
Yeah.
And it like perfectly separated the ghost from the background.
Ooh.
It was very cool. So if you have the cover and you can do that on Facebook, please do it because it is trippy as hell.
That's awesome. Brennan, do you have any final thoughts, sir?
I appreciate Clay. I appreciate your time. You said it was late, and it is, but you stayed up with us. You didn't fall asleep once. You even did a little bit of dancing. Seriously, this is a really, really fucking cool book. I hope a lot of people pre-order it and pick it up on the 20th. And thanks for your time. And Chance, same to you, man. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Thursday night. It is Thursday, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's Thursday.
Okay, You're the father of the baby. You're the father. What did you say? You're the daddy. What was the?
You are the father.
You are the father. No!
Is this supposed to be
I
Mari?
am your father. No, that's Star Wars.
That's still not right anyway, but yeah.
But my final thoughts are that, Chance, I'm very thankful for you for many reasons. So I like this friendship that's forming, man. And
Yeah.
Clay, it's been a real pleasure, and you're going to be back whenever you want, sir. Just anytime. Call me up. Be like, hey, get me on now, fucker. I'll be like, all right, honey. Gonna go listen
sounds
to
like
Clay.
Clay.
Very forceful.
Nailed it.
It's fun to talk to people. I get lonely in this room. Let's just talk to people.
Clay, can I talk about, I'll cut this part off if you want. Can I talk about what the blurb that shall be eventually from that I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot. That's why I said let me know if I'm gonna cut this.
Yeah.
So kind of bragging here because you're a great fucking author, but Clay has agreed to blurb my first anthology that I'm editing. So I can't wait for that. And we actually I don't talk about it much on here, but it should be coming out in a few months. I got to talk to the publisher when he's back in America, so that's gonna be in September. So I'll get the date for that, and then everyone else will know the date. But it is Hot Iron and Cold Blood, an anthology of Weird West, and Brennan's in it too. And Chance is gonna get an early copy too for sure. So I'm excited. And my final thoughts are just check out Chance's show. It's really good. His voice is amazing for this. The next episode is 161 with Ronald Kelly, who, you know what? Fear was kind of like what you did with Ghost Eaters. I just pushed the shit out of Fear every chance I could because I love that book. But he's going to come on. We're going to talk about Southern Fried and Horrified. That is his memoir. It's really excellent. Yeah, he's been writing since the early 80s. He's got a lot of stories. He stopped for 10 years. But yeah, he covers all that. And it's really excellent for anyone that wants to write or is interested in that. And anyone want to say anything before we sign out? Say goodbye. Say goodnight.
You want to ask everybody what they are currently reading.
Oh, good call. My sleepy brain forgot. What are you guys currently reading? Let's start with Chance.
Well, I've been listening to The Babysitter Lives, the Stephen Graham Jones audio, and it's spectacular. So yeah, that's been my main read.
Is that coming out soon?
It's out. Yeah, it's out. It's only audio.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't get a physical one. Physical, I just finished Clown in the Cornfield 2 by Adam Caesar, in anticipation of my recording with him last night,
Nice.
which is super cool. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've had going on, listening to the new Stephen Graham Jones.
That sounds awesome, man. Clay, what about you?
I just finished Gothic. By
Philip.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Philip. Am I gonna say his name? Fracassi?
Yeah.
A haunted desk. It was insane.
What?
What's that? I mean, a demonic desk, a haunted desk, a possessed desk.
I'm saying what because I didn't know what it was about, and that sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's a
I'm down for it.
Yeah,
evil desks, bad desks. It's nuts. But I just finished that, and now I'm reading something called Nightmare Fuel by
this is
Nina Nesseth.
Yeah, is this the nonfiction one?
Yeah, it's about, I think it's Nightmare Fuel : the science of horror.
Ellen Datlow recommended that one to me.
Yeah.
I mean, as a thing I can say in my life.
It's good. It's really good. Like I'm only 50 pages in, and like it's it's breaking it down. It's like, you watch this, and this is what your body does in response to watching this.
I dig it. Yeah. Man, that's crazy. I love it.
That sounds really cool. Brennan, what are you reading?
Cool.
Hey, I got a random question. Sorry, I know I just asked you one, but Chance, that wallpaper in the background, is that from like The Shining or some other? That is from The Shining, right?
Yeah, and it's not wallpaper, it's wrapping paper. But whatever. It's fine.
Okay.
It completes the aesthetic.
I've been
Clay, what does this look?
I'm just looking at your room. Just kind of taking it all in.
Mm. Yeah, no, I
having a moment here.
It's shining wrapping paper, shining carpet pattern. But I was like, hey, I've got this weird space since my room is horizontal. Let's fill it.
That's awesome.
With wrapping paper. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it looks great. So
it does.
Fine. I think it looks cool.
Really ties the room together. All right. So I talked about this on our last episode, but I literally just got the hardcover in the mail today. And I fucking love this book. I really, really, as much as I am a fan of everything that Josh Malerman does, Daphne, I think maybe one of my favorites of everything he's put out. So I am thrilled to have like the final version in front of me. For those of you who don't know, don't listen to every episode. Please listen to every episode. But it kind of starts off with an almost basic premise of, a person was harassed years ago and bullied to death. And now she's coming back for the next generation, almost kind of like an undead serial killer type thing. But it's Josh. So, I mean, it's going to go to different places. And the way that he is able to personify and turn anxiety into a monster is it's commendable. And this is one of those books where don't skip the afterward. There's like, 3-4 pages of Malerman telling you what went into this story, and it's worth every word he puts in there. Really, really good stuff. That's out sometime in September. The other one I just finished up is the local Rhode Island HWA chapter put out an anthology that they are debuting at Necronomicon tomorrow, I think. And that is filled with a whole bunch of stories of Rhode Island lore and just kind of history and horror stories, which anybody who liked Paul Tremblay's most recent book, there's a little bit of that, New England vampire thing. And a lot of that happens in Rhode Island. So a lot of these authors have kind of touched on that and tapped into that. But it includes Krista Carmen. Awesome book. Fantastic book. The Pallbearers Club. This book called We Are Providence. It has Krista Carmen. It has Aaron Beauregard, Jason Parent, John Lynch, a bunch of really, really great authors putting it together. And the last one I'll throw out, I also just finished, this comes out in October, Jonathan Janz's Blood Country, which is the follow-up to The Raven. And if you like that one, you'll like this one. It's the world he's created here where, not nuclear, but like kind of end of the world apocalyptic scenario where all of the mythologies, werewolves, vampires, any monster you can imagine, it kind of unleashes their potential in humanity. And this is just the next chapter in the series. And the pages fly. It's certainly supernatural, but it has kind of that thriller pacing to it. Really, really cool book. Patrick, how about you?
Oh, yeah.
I just finished the remaking, like I said earlier today. And I am few hours in the fervor. I have struggled big time with physical books this year. My wife thinks it is probably because I'm trial and error and medication right now for my ADHD, so I think that's what it is. It's weird. I can really like it, and I still can't. Something's blocking me right now. So I'm bringing this all up because I'm relying heavily on audiobooks and digital books where it's text-to-speech. That I don't know why. I just can absorb it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I dig audios, man. I listen to a bunch of them, so I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, I like it. It's pretty neat. It's Alma Katsu, so she's wonderful at writing historical fiction. She's good writing in general. right, guys. God damn, it was almost 2 hours. That was a long episode for us right now. It was really fun. I had a great time. You guys want to say goodnight to everyone before I say my final line?
Night.
I thought he was going to
Sleep
shout, but he didn't.
tight. Don't let the ghost eaters bite.
That was creepier than I anticipated.
Goodbye. You have many choices in podcasts. Thank you for picking us and Terrifying Tales of Terror. Good night.